Hi everyone, this is Emily from Reading with Emily. Thank you for joining me here today. Today I'm going to do a review and talk to you about this book I just finished by Mimi Mathews, which I adored. I read it on my Kindle. It's called Holiday by Gaslight, and I wish I had the paperback now because I love the book so much. And the cover I know is beautiful. I've seen it on Amazon, so I did read it on my new Kindle Oasis, which is absolutely brilliant. It's this just super cute as a bug's ear little Kindle that actually has fingers for holding it like this. And the case, when you flip it around, has handles to put your hands through and kind of hold it on your hand. So you can just be like reading and not lose your book. It is so cool. Absolutely love it. So Holiday by Gaslight, let's talk about it. And this is actually the first book I read for 2023 in January. And I loved it so much that I picked up immediately both of her other two books that I could find that I love the covers of. Mimi Mathews, The Belle of Belgrave Square and The Siren of Sussex. So these are super cute historical romances, and I love The Holiday by Gaslight so much. And these are written in sort of in the same time frame and same style, which I have not read yet, but I'm going to be picking one of these up between the end of January and February to read, which I will review next. But Holiday by Gaslight, let's talk about it. It's technically a novella, so it's a little bit shorter. You can get through it faster. It's technically a Christmas novel, or Christmas by Gaslight is really how I think of it, but it's a Holiday by Gaslight, but it's a Christmas novel. But it's not like overflowing with Christmas at every corner. I mean, it takes place at the time of year, and the book kind of finishes in the last 1/4 where everybody gathers in Derbyshire for the holidays in this big giant manor, kind of old gothic British manor, to have the holidays. And there are some holiday activities going on there, but for the most part it just reads to me like a regular Victorian or historical romance novel as far as the time frame and everything. But what I love about it is the very first chapter starts out where the main male and female character, the love interests, already know each other. So it's not like in most romance novels where they just are meeting the first time. They already know each other, and you open the book with them in a scene arguing, and she's breaking off their courtship, or dumping him in modern terms, and he seems very stern and cold and nonchalant about it. And you think it kind of up front, like, this can't be the guy who, like, I didn't think this was the guy who the main book is all about, but it turns out it is. But she's dumping him, so to speak, ending their courtship because it was a marriage to be that her father arranged. So the book is really about a middle-class kind of a rich family who's lost a lot of money because the father has a spending problem. And the book is really based around that period of time historically where in Victorian England advances in like modernization, industrialization were happening. So when Gaslight first came into the big manor homes, and which I learned would cost the equivalent of over $100,000 today for what it would cost them to do that back then. And that's really what this book is about. So the father wants to do, like, he's actually spent both of his daughter's dowries trying to without them knowing, to upgrade their mansion, putting them in the hole, so to speak. And so now with the money that's left, the father's using to find husbands for his two daughters. And so both the marriages are kind of arranged. But it starts out where she's already, the older sister, she's already been, courting this guy and has decided, oh, this is just not going to work, and I didn't get to choose him, and blah, blah, blah. And then of course the father has a terrible reaction, like she blew her chance. And what I like about it is these are about the affluent, if you read classic literature based during that time frame, Portrait of a Lady or The Bostonians by Henry James, Jane Eyre, stuff like that, you get a more of a feel of the opulence of that time frame. But in this book, it's about a family of those means who has lost a lot of their money because the father has a spending problem and is not earning in return. And so he's trying to marry his daughters to affluent, rich men. But instead of like dukes and royalty, they actually choose, businessmen who are self-made, which I kind of like that as well. So there's the two men, well, particularly this main gentleman, but the sisters match. These are men who grew up and were raised poor, but they were self-made upper class, but not like the bazillionaire class. So in my reading notes, I always write down quotes that I love from a book to help me remember, and some notes, which I do on my phone. This is my iPad. I do it on my phone under my Bookly app, and then I go back and I generate a report and sends it. So I'm going to read you a few of the quotes I love from this book. Her writing style is quite lovely and lyrical and very descriptive. It really pulls you into the scene. Like it just pulls you into that time period, like with no effort is the best way I can describe it. A few quotes. This was the modern age after all. They must adapt to changing circumstances or risk extinction in one form or another. Or she's described as a vivacious, over-delicate girl, rather like a hollow porcelain ornament who everybody wants to place on a mantel shelf, yet there is nothing anemic about her beauty. There is a rich depth to her. And here's some Christmas phrases. By this time tomorrow, the house will smell of fresh cut pine, hot gingerbread, baked apples, peppermint, and mulberry. They could hardly wait. And then there's a lot of just beautiful descriptive writing about the beautiful snowy countrysides, which I really enjoyed. And they bring Prince Albert into this book. This is right after Prince Albert's passing, and as you know, Prince Albert was very interested in modern advancements. If you've seen the series Victoria, which is very well done and good. We have here it ends. I don't want to spoil anything, but all these people, she gives her match another chance, and they all end up gathering at the mansion and at the holiday time. The ballroom at the Apperset house was magnificent. It was also hot, stuffy, and overcrowded and smothering. The crystal gasoliers, sconces, worked in concert with the guests to suck oxygen from the room. 3 ladies had already fainted. It was quite an achievement, and not at all a negative one. Indeed, no party in Victorian England was counted a success unless it was an absolute crush. I love that. There's, of course, some beautifully written love scenes. No sex in the book. It's more of a clean romance. There was they kissed for the first time under the mistletoe, under the gaslight, under the stars. Perhaps it was all 3. So I wrote down some of the quotes that I love, something I do. I like how in this book, it was a little non-traditional. The female character is actually the one who proposes instead of the other way around, which is pretty cool. You don't see that a lot in that time frame, much less in historical romance. And so I'm really excited to read the Bella Belgrave Square next. Tall, dark, and dour, the notorious Captain Jasper Blunt was once held as a military hero, but tales abound of his bastard children and his haunted estate in Yorkshire. What he requires now is a rich wife to ornament his isolated ruin, and he has the sights set on the enchanting Julia Witchwood. For Julia, an incurable romantic cursed with crippling social anxiety, navigating a London ballroom is an absolute torture. The only time Julia feels any degree of confidence is when she's on her horse. Unfortunately, a young lady can't spend her whole life on a saddle. So Julia makes an impetuous decision to take her future by the reins. So she proposes marriage to Captain Blunt. Another theme we saw in The Holiday by Gaslight is the main character's one who proposes. That's after she called off the arranged marriage. And in the beginning, and then times go on and things happen, and she wants to only marry someone she chooses. So she wouldn't do it when her father set it up, but she would do it when it was her own idea. So female independence is definitely an ongoing theme here. In exchange for her dowry and her hand, Jasper must promise to grant her the freedom to do as she pleases, to ride and to read as much as she likes without masculine interference. He readily agrees to her conditions, with one provision of his own. Julia is forbidden from going into the tower rooms of his estate and snooping around in his affairs. But the more she learns about her beastly hero, the more intrigued she becomes. So I'm very excited to read this because I love her. I loved Holiday by Gaslight. I just loved it. It like totally felt like I was watching Victorian Albert, Victoria, the series again. And I just love, it was just such a, the story was okay. It was just, the story was the story, but it was like the writing style was like, I love writing that brings to life that time period where effortlessly you're transported there as a reader, or when you're reading, you feel like you're watching a movie. That's what I love. This one, The Siren of Sussex. Evelyn Maltravers understands exactly how little she's worth on the marriage mart. As an incurable blue stocking from a family tumbling swiftly toward ruin, she knows she'll never make a match in a ballroom. Her only hope is to distinguish herself by making the biggest splash in the one sphere where she excels, on horseback, in haute couture. But to truly capture London's attention, she'll need a habit maker who's not afraid to take risks with his designs or with his heart. Ahmad Malik has always had a talent for making women feel beautiful, inching his way toward recognition as a tailor, despite the prejudices against his Indian heritage, by designing riding habits for Rotten Row's infamous pretty horse breakers. No idea what that is, but no one compares to Evelyn. Her unbridled spirit enchants him, awakening a depth of feeling he never thought possible. But pushing boundaries comes at a cost, and not everyone is pleased to welcome Evelyn and Ahmad in fashionable society. Ooh, scandal, especially where there's like the whole diversity and racism and prejudice and brought into a historical context, into a romance. Love it. This is definitely my kind of writing. But for now, just to get a little feel, it doesn't have to be Christmas to read Holiday by Gaslight. I just loved it. I think it was free on Kindle Unlimited, I think. Pretty sure. Let's open it. It's a Victorian Christmas novella. I think I got this, I think it was, if you have the Kindle Unlimited, it's free. I can't say now, but I love it. And like on the Kindle, I'm sure you can see this, it's so bright. It has like little glyphs, time stamps and location stamps and everything. And so here's an example of that very first scene I was telling you about, the very first page. An icy late November breeze rustled the bare branches of the trees along Serpentine. Hyde Park was practically deserted at this time of morning, and no wonder. It was freezing cold, the gray skies heavy with the scent of impending rain. Sophie Apperset thrust her hands more firmly into the confines of the oversized mink muff she wore suspended from a silken cord around her neck. So you see, Mr. Sharp, there's no reason to continue as we are. So it just jumps into, she's just dumping this guy that her father set her up with, and it all kind of goes downhill from there. But I loved it so much. So I hope you guys like it, or I will definitely review the other books when I read them. Thank you so much for watching, and keep an eye out for more great book videos.